So, colleagues, you are most welcome. I would like to welcome you all to our inaugural session of Scaling Up Consumer Justice and Protection Through Mass Media Initiative. So thank you very much for all of you joining. We can't keep you waiting anymore. So we are starting shortly. All the members of the Media League fraternity, you are all most welcome. And all other stakeholders who are consumer advocates, consumer leaders, and also consumer defenders, you are most welcome to the inaugural Media League. I would love to share with you the poster with regards to what we are holding today. So, colleagues, we are launching a 6-month initiative where we are be sharing quite pertinent issues with the media as a fourth system. So we are partnering with Consumers International and another organization, the Anne Fund, to scale up consumer justice and protection through the media age. All of you very well know that each one of us is a consumer in our individual right. Though whoever buys or purchases and consumes any product is a consumer. And many of you have fallen victim, or you haven't fallen victim, but you are beneficiaries of the consumption system. So today, we are going to lead you through the initiative. What is consumer justice? What is all it about protection? So we think that partnering with the different media entities will help us scale up the consumer awareness, scale up consumer justice, getting value for money, advocating for service delivery, and even improving businesses. So, ladies and gentlemen, all of you who are joining us today, we are going to have a session that is going to launch 6 media leads. My colleague Bernard will be taking you through the detail. But as a curtain riser, I always love to tell people that consumers are the engine, the blood, and the oxygen of businesses. They are the engine, blood, and oxygen of national economies. Once consumers do not consume, production stalls. Once consumers do not consume, taxes are affected, because out of the price, taxes are got. Out of all budgets done, they are there to offer services to the consumers. So with that big narrative, colleagues, consumer justice and protection is not everything, but everything is nothing without the market, without royal customers, without consumers with disposable income. So it is very important that, in particular, you colleagues in the media fraternity, as your ears, mouth, and voice of society, that we empower you, we discuss with you, so that you speak out on behalf or even empower the consumers to speak out and get justice, value, and they are protected against anything that can affect them. How the idea of the the media league came about, it is now 3 years that we are running it. We are in more than 20-some media leagues. It started with the food safety, the World Food Safety of 2024. We started with around about 15 journalists. We kept on growing it. Today, we are happy that it has grown to about 150, and we would love to grow it by the end of this campaign to at least be in position to have 300 journalists across the country. Majority of you we have never met physically, but we are meeting online with a number of issues that we have raised. One of the aspects that I can bring on board, ever since we started with food safety issues, there's increased reporting with regards to food safety issues in all platforms, on all platforms. There is increased discussion with different consumer issues. We might not attribute everything to the media age, but the engagements that we have had with you, the media fraternity, has led to some degree of increase with regards reports on food safety, aspects to do with quality assurance, and also bringing together journalists from different areas to meet on one platform and discuss. Today, we are not only journalists, but we have brought in different players from ministries, departments, and agencies who will be coming in to speak to you on different aspects. As I'm about to share, you'll find that there are different shades of issues that affect consumers, but they are respective institutions that speak or even defend consumer aspects in their respective regard. We continuously collect consumer complaints, what we call consumer complaints harvesting. And there are major areas through which we collect these consumer complaints. One of the area or several areas, if I would start, are mainly food. Others are in communication, financial services, health, environment, issues to do with transport, issues to do with the air we breathe, the environment we live in, health services, and so forth. But you'll find that in all these areas, they are different challenges. Many of you, directly and indirectly, you have raised issues concerning communication aspects. We do share them with the Communications Commission, and we have done a number of town halls. We have just concluded safer internet awareness with you on the media leagues. We ran 8 of them, and a number of issues were shared with you. Why the media league? The media league gives us an opportunity to speak to or to communicate to a greater population in Uganda. Many of you live in areas I've never visited, but through the digitalization, I'm able to share with you, with my colleagues, many aspects that affect you and affect others. One other major aspect that really affects the consumers is in the financial sector, and most of it is digital finance, where there are many scams, fraud, people losing their money, most of the times knowledgeably or unknowledgeably, where they share their personal data and it is used. And the fraudsters use that opportunity. Other areas come in with regards to food safety. Many of you, knowledgeably and unknowledgeably, you endanger your own food, but even food businesses endanger us. So we'll be using this opportunity during the media age to scale up the consumer voices that we harvest. There is a time when we started collecting consumer voices, and we expected majority of the complaints to be on food. By the time when we analyzed and came up with the Consumer Voices report, the biggest number of complaints were on transport. And we had to interrogate it further. One of the aspects that came in, why was transport the most complained about? Everybody to go and earn a living every day. And if they start with transport, they have either to board a taxi, they have to ride a motorbike, a border, or they have to drive their own vehicles. So transport became a major issue. Even when after work, it's still the same means of transport that takes them back home. So most of the complaints were focusing on transport. There is a complaint that we feared bringing on board until we consulted. It was on health, misdiagnosis, where most of the consumers go to hospitals or medical facilities and they get misdiagnosed. We were very worried or scared to bring it, that it might bring a backlash, until we consulted and we were informed, yes. And we shared the data. But we find that through such discussions like we're having here today, we can speak up, and also you raise up the voices to improve the health sector service delivery. Diagnose to make sure that the labs do make or give us correct information. The other sector, which was very key, was the digital finance. Those of you who have grown up or lived in Uganda for a while, you will appreciate that the mobile telephony was very expensive, but to date, it has grown, and the growth has got many benefits, where more than 38 million mobile accounts are in existence today. If we look at the UCC report that was released in March, it gives you the market, the market penetration. But also looking at Bank of Uganda, there is a national financial inclusion strategy. They usually meet on a quarterly basis to see how deep financial services are, and looking at issues of consumer literacy, strengthening consumer protection in the financial sector. That done with all the regulations in place, consumer complaints on financial scams continuously come up. And as Consent is a member to the National Financial Inclusion Working Groups, we usually put up the complaints. But a number of aspects that come in It's all about ignorance, where people are at times deliberately or undeliberately sharing their passwords. One of the interesting story is that some of the old or disabled people, not disabled, but people with challenges, leave their passwords with the mobile money agents or give their passwords to their offspring so that they can collect money at any time that can come to their aid. So you'll find that where the regulations are in place, instruments are in place, there are still some weak points, either on our side as consumers or even on the side of businesses. So we think that through engagement with the media, bringing in financial literacy, it would be something good during this 6 months campaign for the media to be able to relay information that is very key to empower consumers. Those that are doing the writing, you write and inform the consumers. Those of you who have got radio programs, you share what you have learned and also relay that. Those of you who are as MCs of a social, cultural, religious functions in your respective environments, you continuously empower consumers for their safety so that they are protected and then get justice where need be. So, ladies and gentlemen, we think that this program that we are rolling out today will improve the social welfare. It will contribute to the government agendas. When you look at the tenfold agenda, cannot succeed if there isn't consumer justice and protection, because consumers are the economy and the consumers are the market. If they are not satisfied, they are not in position to be productive. If they are not productive, there are no resources. So all that said, I would like to welcome you to this session. And at this point in time, I would like to welcome my colleague Bernard to open up and dig us deep into the session. As Bernard comes in, I would like once again to thank all my colleagues at Consent, the respective partners that we have, the respective partners at Consumers International and the Unfrozen Fund for having come in to join us so that we roll out, empower the media, so that the media also empowers the masses, the rest of the population. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and you're most welcome. Bernard, please, the floor is yours. Bernard, you can share the screen. You're welcome, colleague. Thank you very much for the compliment. Yeah, I already gave him Asha. Okay. I can't see her. Okay, got her. Okay.
Hello.
Yep. Bernard, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chimera. Apologies for taking a little bit a while. I was just trying to look for the opportunity to speak. Colleagues, you're most welcome to this conversation once again. And my work today is simpler. Maybe let me put in slide mode. Henry, is that okay? Could you confirm if you're able to see my screen in slide mode?
Yes, we can see it. It's all clear.
All right.
And your volume too.
The volume is also okay. Okay, so colleagues, I want to welcome you again to this conversation. I want to appreciate the media personnel for the last sessions we completed I think last week. And now we begin a new chapter. We are now looking at another angle of consumer protection, specifically looking at consumer justice and protection. As Henry has explored and explained to you, we have a new campaign. We're going to table this maybe in the next couple of months. And the project, we are calling it Scaling Up Consumer Justice and Protection through Mass Media Initiative, meaning that we're going to scale up this consumer justice, consumer protection, but leveraging on mass media. So, of course, looking at the main media, television, TV, radios, newspapers, etc., but also social media and online media. So we want to make sure that this consumer justice we are talking about, consumer protection, is understood by the media personnel, but also the function MCs, so that wherever you are, you have more content in addition to what we have been availing to you, but now you have more information, more content on consumer justice, on consumer protection, and then you keep giving it out to the masses out there. The issue is we really want to make sure that all consumers are reached with this information so that they understand what their rights are, they understand their responsibilities, and then they are empowered. And when the consumers are empowered, they are able then to make informed choices. You're going to buy food, you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy medicine, you're going to buy all this kind of stuff. You are informed, and so you can make an informed choice of which kind of product, of which kind of good, or even which service you're going to actually acquire. So we want to make sure that all consumers are really empowered through the voices of the media, but also we want to make sure that we drive accountability to our leaders, to the private sector, to the businesses. If people are doing wrong, how do we make sure that they are accountable to consumers? But also, we really need to see that we strengthen, the justice that people get. Where do you go for complaints, for instance, if you've bought a product that is not safe? So we want to make sure that in these 6 months, we discuss with you, we give you perspective of what this consumer justice looks like. We share with you what consumer protection is and how best people can be supported out there whenever they have challenges. Now, this project is a short project of 6 months, and we are being supported by Anne Franzen Fund. It's one of our colleagues in the consumer work who is supporting these meetings to happen, and we really acknowledge them, of course, with Consumers International. And it will be basically implemented by us, Consent, as the implementing partner for Uganda, ensuring that we reach out to you with real-time information on this subject matter. And the approach we're going to use, we're going to leverage on the Media League. We shall be having conversations periodically, as we've always had. We shall keep you updated. But at least we shall have 6 series on this particular subject matter. And of course, our target group will be the media personnel. We're talking about journalists, but also we've added the MCs so that whenever they are out there at functions, they are able to share with consumers at a wedding, at a funeral, at a party, they're able to share this information with all of us so that consumers can be reached. And of course, the Media League, for our colleagues who have joined us for the very first time, it's basically a collective network of media professionals whom we meet periodically and give insights on different topics of interest relating to consumers, consumer protection, and also other fields. So we shall leverage on this approach that Henry has already explored to make sure that we reach out to the masses. We shall have other stakeholders in this project that we are going to deal with. Oftentimes, you're going to see in the next sessions regulators. We shall get teams from Uganda Communications Commission. We shall get a team probably from transport, from electricity, from water, from UNBS. All those colleagues will be invited to speak to us on the consumer issues in relation to their fields. So we shall have those regulators, we shall have policymakers on board who will be speaking to us in the subsequent episodes. And of course, consumers, all of us will be there listening in and learning more about what we are supposed to do. We intend also to target the business communities because these are the guys who are making products, both the good products, but also the fake ones, the counterfeit, and so we need to engage the business community to make them accountable, to give us safer products, etc. We shall also be targeting civil society organizations because they are reaching out to so many consumers in your communities out there. And so they are of interest to engage so that as they talk to consumers, they also know the rights and responsibilities of consumers that they will be engaging. For instance, we just finished empowering the media on data protection. So the civil society must also be aware, how is the data they're going to collect from these people supposed to be used? What are the consumer justice issues when it comes to data protection, for instance? We also intend to engage the religious institutions because these guys have a large following of people out there. But how do we make sure that this information reaches out to them? Education institutions or institutions of learning, how do we make sure that this information trickles down to the schools? I am happy that some of the media personnel here who belong to the Media League, you've been going to the schools to push out internet safety from our previous conversation. Now, this is another thing that you can push out to the education institutions where you serve. We also want to target cultural institutions. If you look at most of the media houses, some of them belong to the cultural institutions. So how do we make sure that these cultural institutions come on board to speak more strongly about consumer justice and consumer protection? And all this will be done with your support. When you have this information, then you can be able to target all these consumers. Now, the question usually that we need to address at the word go is, what are we even talking about? When we talk about consumer justice, what is it? How does it look like? It seems a movie somewhere. But when you're talking about consumer justice, there are basics that we need to think about, basics that we need to discuss, or things that we need to, to get used to as a consumer. So when you're talking about consumer justice, we are looking at the legal aspects. We are looking at economic principles of fair trade, for instance. How fair is what you're going to do? If you're doing food products, if you're manufacturing, maybe plastics, if you're manufacturing solar lamps, if you're manufacturing anything, vehicles, assuring that there is fair kind of trade or fair manufacture of things, ensuring that there is safety in what you're going to give to the population, ensuring that there is equitable treatment for individuals in the marketplace. If you're doing a product that is going to be hazardous to people, it means that you're actually compromising their justice. So those legal aspects and economic principles that we leverage on to ensure fair, safe, and equitable treatment for individuals or for consumers who are in the marketplace is what we're going to basically be talking about in terms of consumer justice. Now, whenever there is consumer justice, we see an empowerment, of buyers. So when your products are fairly on the market, they are safe, they are equitable, people are being treated well, those who are supposed to receive them, etc. This empowers, our everyday buyers, our customers against the corporate exploitation. Out there that the industry or the private sector can come up with anything. Say, we've seen a lot of fraud happening by the industry. We've seen a lot of predatory lending. We've seen things to do with defective products, for you are buying something, but you reach home, it's actually not the one, etc. So this consumer justice we talk about provides avenues for legal recourse, but also for promoting policies that prioritize people over profits. One of the critical examples that we could always talk about here is if you're giving us, for instance, in agriculture, and you're giving us highly hazardous pesticides, for instance, if they are hazardous to people, why should they be here? And yet they are being sold. So the issue is, how do we prioritize consumers over the profits? If you're making any product, even if it is a service, how are you making sure that people are priority as compared to the profits that you're actually making out there? So we've also seen that too often consumers are at a very big disadvantage, especially with companies, with organizations they interact with. Think about the financial institutions where consumers go and pick loans, but then consumers are signing a contract with the bank, and yet the consumer has not even understood the provisions of the contract. So you're signing a loan and they're giving you a contract, but you are illiterate. You do not know how to read. But the guy just shows you sign here, sign here, sign here, sign there. So what are you signing? So you'll find that inside there are probably very terrible clauses that the consumer signs a loan without actually knowing which clauses they are. Now, most of the consumers are always at a disadvantage in that kind of way. Now, look at people who make us maybe gadgets, talk about a computer, talk about TV, talk about your phones, and then the consumer is given a fake phone. But the consumer does not know how to differentiate a fake phone from a normal phone. So whose responsibility is it? In the first place, why did the fake phone come to the market? So this is all the conversation we're going to have during the course of this series. Why should a fake phone even enter a country? Who is responsible? Who is not doing what? If a chemical is banned elsewhere, why must it be in your country? Where did it enter? Why is it entering? So you find that because consumers are not informed, consumers do not even know what to do, they are very much at a disadvantage. That sometimes you even buy an electronic gadget, and on the same day you purchased it, it actually bans because the information on it was not provided, or when it was provided in a language that you don't understand, and yet the seller or the manufacturer did not have the audacity to explain to you how to connect the product. So you find that the trade becomes unfair for people, it becomes unsafe for people, and so people lose money, people lose time, people lose other resources. So because of this kind of disadvantage that we have as consumers. So this is the conversation that we're going to have in this consumer justice episode. And of course, when consumers are mistreated or ill-treated, or they're at disadvantage of these companies, organizations, etc., it can really be unfair. Sometimes you look at unfair terms and conditions given to people who are signing things. You even wonder what they are signing, they don't know. And so they end up into unfair contracts. This even can happen at workplaces. Some people would go to a workplace and they don't have contracts. Or if they have contracts, the contracts have very terrible provisions, but someone cannot negotiate them. And so they end up in an unfair contracts that even they have not understood. Sometimes the contracts are written in legal language which you cannot even read or understand, etc. All those are unfair conditions that consumers need to take care of. And these are the things that now we shall be exploring this during the course of these sessions. Of course, we've seen people being employed in industries or in factories, and they're not given protective equipment. Whose role is it to provide consumers with, those safety gear? You are supposed to be in an industry, you're supposed to cover your head, you're supposed to have an apron, you're supposed to have those boots, etc. Who is providing them? And if they're not provided, are those consumers able to seek redress? If they're not being able to seek redress, why? What are the challenges? Could it be information? If yes, who is supposed to provide them the information? So we're going to do our best and provide you, the media, all these perspectives, and then you share them with the communities so that our people are actually in the know of what they're supposed to do. So that is basically what we shall be looking at when you're talking about consumer justice. Now, what are the objectives of this project? Our main focus is to enhance consumer justice and protection through this mass media initiative. But specifically, we want to raise media personnel awareness. We want to make sure that you guys, the media professionals, are actually aware on aspects of consumer justice and protection, but also you should be knowing the mechanisms. What are the consumer protection mechanisms in Uganda? How do we ensure consumer protection? What are the legal issues, etc.? So I want to raise the media personnel awareness on these issues, but also improve your knowledge on reporting consumer voices and plight. out there where you're serving, there are so many consumer issues, but they go unnoticed because we even don't know that they are issues. Or even the media personnel, they are struggling to get content, and yet there are so many consumer issues that you're supposed to be raising on your radio. You can pick a lot of information during your call-ins, etc. So this is one of the specific objectives. We shall raise your awareness on this matter. But also, we want to build media personnel capacity to scale up coverage of consumer voices and plight, and also reporting of consumer justice and protection concerns. Now, how often do we cover consumer issues in our news bulletin? How do we, if you have a story, how do you bring it from a lens of consumer protection? If someone is being evicted from their land and you're documenting that story, how often do you bring in the consumer perspective, the consumer justice perspective, away from the usual? How do you make that a consumer issue? Or how does it come out as a consumer protection challenge? If someone is chasing away people from their land that they have been on for 200 years, a 30-year-old is chasing away a 90-year-old from his land. How do we bring that as a consumer protection issue? If somebody is going to the hospital to seek medical attention, what are they going through that reflect consumer neglect, that reflect consumer rights exploitation, etc. If someone is going to the bus terminal and they enter a bus and their products, rather their goods, are actually left at a stage, how do we report that as a consumer protection issue? If somebody is driving a car that is DMC, it's not supposed to be on the road, but is passing the road. It is passing with the traffic police. What is the risk that that is posing to the consumer, and how do we report that? How do we increase this coverage? If somebody has a vehicle, and or maybe people are in the taxi and they get an accident, do they even know that we have a third-party insurance, and how does that, how is that reported about? How often do we use third-party insurance? How many vehicles have it anyway, and how many? So that kind of reporting, we want to make sure that these consumer issues are covered and also reported in your news bulletin, but are also talked about on your radio stations, etc. If somebody has paid an annual cover for insurance, health insurance, and then they get sick and they're being tossed left, right, center, but after paying a package for health, how do we cover this? The insurance companies that are maybe infringing on the rights of consumers, even after they have paid their package, how do we bring those issues in the media space so that consumers appreciate them, but also the private sector, the companies, the government start appreciating these concepts? So that is another big objective we intend to achieve in this conversation. And then, of course, lastly, we want to stimulate constructive dialogue. After seeing all these issues, how can the media stimulate constructive dialogue between, of course, the journalists, the consumers, the business, the service providers, the regulators? How do we start having this conversation? The way you have conversations on your televisions, on your radios, on politics, on the budget, on all those things that we always have on your radio stations or TVs. How do we start stimulating this constructive dialogue relating to consumer protection and consumer justice? So these are the three specific objectives that we want to see. That when, for instance, I'm listening into your radio station, I'm able to listen to you, and you're talking to the Kabaka or to the Prime Minister about issues affecting consumers in their community. Maybe you're talking to Naro, you're talking to the water, national water, you're talking about how people are being affected by water supply, etc. So those are some of the things we need to see coming up from this conversation. So then from our specific objectives now, we want to remind you about consumer rights, because we cannot talk about consumer justice before we can have a wider understanding of the consumer rights and the consumer responsibilities. I have to keep reminding you, because this is what we believe at Consent, that empowered consumers, as long as the consumers are really empowered and we have fair markets, then we can have a just society. So how do we make sure that the consumers are empowered? First of all, with their rights. Do they even know their rights? We can even be here on this call when many of us do not know your rights as consumer, as a consumer. What are your rights? So consumers have around about eight internationally recognized rights. All of us have a right to our basic needs. Of course, the right to access essential goods and services necessary for a dignified life, and that is your right. It is a right of every consumer. You must have the basics. At least have clothing, at least have food, at least have a housing unit or something like that. You must have the basics. But then you also have a right to safety. Now, do people know that they actually have a right to consumer safety? The right to be protected against goods and services that are hazardous to your health or to your life. In fact, if you enter the vehicle and you realize that your safety is compromised, you are supposed to just get off that vehicle and pick another one. And that is your right. Like, you have a right to safety. If a vehicle is supposed to be having, rather, let me maybe talk about your offices, because most of you are in your offices. Your offices probably are supposed to be having a fire extinguisher for safety. How many offices have a fire extinguisher, for instance? Now, if we don't have fire extinguishers and maybe we don't have escape routes, what happens if an office caught fire? What happens to the safety of the people who are working in there? If you are a media personnel and you're going to the field, let's say you're going to a war-torn area and that's where you're going to cover news, how is your media house assuring your safety when you're in the field? And do you ever demand for that safety? For instance, maybe say we're going to cover news in a place where bullets are running, but do you have a bulletproof? Is your head covered with the right gear? Are you dressed for that purpose, etc.? This is your right. You're supposed to, it is not even negotiable. You must have this right to safety. If I go to a place, let's say we're in a meeting, Consent has called you for a meeting or any other partner, and then you realize that actually the place you are in is not safe for people to sit. Maybe there is congestion, there is dust, there is smoke, there is no breathing space, there are no ventilators there. Now you need to start demanding for that. In fact, the meeting should even stop and you get a better place. So the right to consumer safety. We must protect consumers against goods or services that actually are hazardous to life. So do we ever think about this? Imagine going to a hospital and then the syringes are all over the whatever they are using, the sharps, we call them sharps in the medical terms. The medicines are just there. So how do you make sure that consumers who are coming to pick health services are actually safe? What about these guys who are constructing roads? What is the consumer safety on the road? Are all the drainage systems covered, for instance? Do we have signage on the road? Do we have humps where they're supposed to be? Do we have all those things are to help us to achieve the right to consumer safety? The consumers of the road have a right to safety while they're on the road. So if you're a driver and you're carrying people in your car and they're not wearing belts, how are you ensuring the right of that consumer to safety? So all of these must be understood by our consumers for them to be able then to seek for justice. Let us maybe quickly look at right number 3, the right to consumer information. Do consumers actually have the right information? Are they having accurate information? If it is accurate and right, but is it adequate? Is it timely information to make informed choices? Are these consumers being sensitized? Have they been told about a particular product? If you're selling a particular product, is it well labeled to provide this information? That actually this bottle of beer is having A, B, C, D. You cannot take more than 2 bottles. It is for only people above this particular age. If you're not of this age, you're not supposed to take it, etc. Do people have this information? Do people have information on your phone, the phone you are using? Do you have enough information to keep you safe while using that phone? Besides, is that information accurate? We have seen in the chemical industry where someone tells you this is a herbicide, but someone puts it in the garden and actually it is a fertilizer instead. Someone tells you, oh, this chemical kills this, and then when you apply it, nothing. Do people have the right information? Is that information even accurate? Is it adequate? Is it even provided timely? So if we give consumers the right information, adequate information, timely information, It helps them to actually make informed choices. Now, in any case, if consumers don't have the right information, then justice can't come in because they may not even seek for redress. They cannot, it's a little bit problematic. So the question is, are our consumers aware up to this level? Are we all aware of our rights, and how do we often use these rights to make sure that we get justice and protection for consumers? But also, the consumers have a right to choice. In fact, we have a right to consumer choice. That's why we have diversity in the market for you to be able to choose which phone you want. Now, the question will be, are consumers even aware of what they're supposed to choose? Now, in this conversation, in this series, the sixth series we're going to have, we're going to share with you what you need to check for instance, when you're entering a car, when you're entering a bus, when you're choosing a plane, when you're going to, when you're choosing a product, what is it that you're looking at before you can make a choice? So all that will be part of what we're going to look at, just to help us as media personnel to appreciate your right to choice. If I'm going for a buffet, it is not mandatory that I'm supposed to eat everything there. I must choose what I want to eat. But the question is what I'm going to eat labeled to enable me choose it? So these are the basics that now we shall keep looking at in the different sectors to help you understand these things, but also you help the community understand them, and then we start reporting on them. Our hotels, for instance, when you're going for lunch in those hotels where you have your meetings, is food ever labeled when they put a buffet? Or you just pick whatever because the eyes have seen? So the consumers have to be aided with information for them to be able to make a choice. But where is that information usually written? If the information is provided, are consumers even reading that information? Many of you, I see you take drinks, soft drinks, what, but how many of us read the labels? If the information is accurately put there, how often do we read that information to make a choice? We also have a right to consumer representation. We're supposed to be represented on different committees. Like Consent represents you on the UNBS committees, majority of them. But also in your communities where you're serving, consumers must have a say. If you have a panel discussion, who is representing consumers? Let's say you're in agriculture. If you call the agriculture officer in your radio station or TV for any engagement on agriculture, why don't you have the consumer or the farmer to come and be part of that conversation to provide their dynamic as consumers of these services? So we need to have, as consumers, a right to be heard, a right to be represented in the development and implementation of policy. Whenever you're developing policies, where is the consumer? Where does the consumer sit in whichever conversations that you're having at your communities down there? And how are you leveraging on the consumer issues for you to make decisions on a particular standard or a particular whatever you're doing? Now, consumers also have a right to consumer redress. That, for instance, if I bought a product and this product is unsafe, I have a right to redress. So the right to fair and prompt redress for consumer grievances. Now the question is, where do I redress? Where do I seek redress? That is why we shall have teams from the regulators, from water, from electricity, from UCC, from wherever, to come and share with us this information. If a consumer has a problem with the product X, how do they submit a complaint? How long does it take for you to address that complaint? How is the person supposed to seek redress? All those aspects. So that once we have all of these in place, then consumer justice can thrive. Of course, we have a right to education, and just like we are doing now, our role at Consent is to make sure we educate the consumers. And that's why we are called the Consumer Center, ensuring that we educate the consumers out there with the right information, with knowledge, with skills on how to make decisions. If you're going to sleep in a hotel, which kind of hotel? What do you check first? How do you check in, etc.? Provide this education to people so that they understand, and then they can be able to use this education then to seek for justice, to seek for fair trade, to seek for a fair hearing. So as consumers, these are things we're supposed to have and to have at our fingertips. As media personnel, these are things we need to tell the consumers. And of course, the last right there is the right to healthy environment. Wherever we are, we must ensure that the environment in which we are operating is healthy for us. Be away from smoke, be away from fumes, be away from dust, because all those can actually cause disease to consumers, and then their health is compromised. Very soon, we shall be sharing with you another interesting program on consumers for clean air. It comes in very promptly in the health environment. Where are our vendors selling the food, for instance, in our marketplaces? Who is responsible for that? How is waste that is generated in cities, in communities, taken away? Who is responsible for that? Whom should we hold accountable? These are conversations that we're going to have hinged on the consumer rights that we have. So if you don't know the rights that you have, then you cannot seek for justice. Because I mean, the program we're going to look at is on consumer justice, but we cannot talk about consumer justice unless people understand the consumer rights. In fact, consumer rights are human rights. So we must know them, we must claim them, and we must protect them. And I think that is very, very important. We need to know that these rights are just not rights of consumers, but they are also human rights. And therefore, our people must know these rights, they must be able to claim these rights, and they must be able to protect these rights. So the moment our consumers are empowered, the moment they have this information, we can start holding businesses accountable, we can hold governments accountable, and then we can have responsive regulators then, and then fair markets. Now, while we have rights as consumers, consumers must also know that they have responsibilities. So it's not just a matter of having a right. While we have the 8 rights of consumers, we also need to note that we must be responsible consumers. Because remember, we are the market. So when we are not responsible, the guys will bring on market anything. So the moment we know our responsibilities, then we can claim for our rights, and then we can seek for justice. And so that is how the things are connected. So consumers have a key role to play in building a fair, a safe, and sustainable marketplace. Now, there are 5 main consumer responsibilities that actually speak to the rights. It is a responsibility of all of us as consumers to have critical awareness. Now, a person has labeled a chemical and has indicated that the chemical is dangerous. If you don't read that instruction and use it, you may not challenge them, because they will tell you you didn't read. So we need to tell our people on how to interpret labels. The problem is still a language. If something is written in French, is written in Chinese, in India, how do you expect people in Uganda, in Kasese, to translate them? And that is why we have some bit of symbols they use on those products. But the question is, when we put the symbols there, how do consumers read or interpret those symbols? It's another issue. So probably we can be looking at what are the common symbols on toothpaste. If you see a toothpaste with blue or with green, what does it mean? Those will be some of the aspects probably that we can put in this conversation of consumer justice. But the consumer must be critically aware. Be informed on everything you're going to buy. Question everything. Question everything. What is this? What did you use to prepare this food? Which cooking oil did you use? It's very important, because sometimes you go to a restaurant, they serve you food, but you even don't know what they used to cook. Maybe they cooked using something that you don't eat. So it's very important for us to be informed, to question, why am I paying this? How much is that? So we need to be informed. Question the claims. Someone comes up with a herbal medicine and they tell you it cures 1,000 diseases. Where on earth would that happen? Someone says it cures all diseases, and then you see media houses also publishing that kind of information. Now, remember that consumers believe in your work. So when you tell somebody that, okay, have this particular product, it cures all the diseases. How? We need to start questioning, how does it cure malaria? Why is it not curing the cancer? Oh, it cures cancer. Then no one has ever cured of it. Oh, this one cures HIV, but as of now, we don't know how many people have healed of HIV. So we need to question things. Why is this like that? Why is this claim? Start evaluating information on those products before actually you can make choices. So that is the critical awareness that we need to put in the minds of our people. Now, when you have critical awareness, then act. If you see that the product is hazardous to your health, act by going away from it, or raise an alarm about it. Make responsible choices after your critical awareness. So once now you're aware of this particular thing, then make a decision. Act. You can either make a responsible choice by leaving or by taking on the product, or even by reporting unfair practices in the market, or seeking redress whenever needed. So the action, this business of elites, you know something and then we don't want to talk about it. Now it makes this product keep on coming on the market. I can give you a case at Consent. Sometime back, we were battling something on soda, the way soda was being packaged. Until the noise was made rather, that's when you're able to see the soda as well bottled now. At some point, we have gone through thin and thick to make sure that when we know, we secure you guys when you are not there. So you as a consumer, what action do you take when you see a product that is not safe for others? Do you just leave it for other people to act? Do you seek redress? Do you report unfair practice anywhere? So all of these have to come in as a responsibility of us, the consumers. Now, there's also a responsibility of social concern, considering the impact of choices on others. When you see that this product, you have had us at Consent and Food Safety Coalition and other actors talking about highly hazardous chemicals. It's not that we are the only ones, but when you look at the impact that causes to many of us, including our parents, our children, our grandchildren, we have no option. We have to speak about it until we see governments or whoever is responsible act. So these are social concerns. It's a responsibility. Now, you guys who know that there are consumer rights, then you need to make sure that we start analyzing challenges in our communities and how those impact our people, our consumers, and speak about them. That is our responsibility as consumers, social concern. We also have environmental concern. If you see someone burning every now and then, someone is spraying in a place where you're eating from, I mean, why don't you be environmentally alert so that we start choosing products and services that actually protect the environment as compared to those that actually destroy the environment? If the environment is compromised, trust me, whatever we're talking about, first of all, we shall be diseased, and all of us are sharing the same air, we are breathing the same air, So it is our responsibility to make sure that we are environmentally alert, ensuring that the products that we are dealing with or the services actually protect the environment in which we live. And thus we are able to promote sustainability. And lastly is the issue of working together. We need a consumer movement. Anything that affects one consumer affects the other, and therefore we need to have solidarity. We have to stand together as consumers and fight hard for what belongs to us. So how do we stand together with other consumers to create positive change, but also strengthen our collective voice? How do we put our voice together and claim something that we're supposed to have? If the market is unclean, we are the consumers buying from that market, but also the vendors are in that market and they are consuming whatever we are giving to them as well. So how do we stand in solidarity and fight for a common good? So there is nothing like, it is for all of us. So we need to be critically aware and act, but we need to be socially concerned, environmentally concerned, but also work together. So our responsibilities today can actually better a marketplace tomorrow. When we fight for wrong things to go off the market, counterfeit off, and other products which are fake off, all of us benefit equally. Now, having had all this conversation on consumer justice and having taken you through the consumer rights and responsibilities, now we are going to break down this information in different sectors. Now, that is the scope of the project and the webinars that are going to follow this one. So, for instance, what we are going to look at next, we shall be looking at consumer justice and protection in health. So that means when we come to this episode, we shall now explore in the healthcare system, what are the consumer justice issues that you need to look out for? We have a consumer charter for health. What are the provisions that when I go to the hospital, what kind of information must be given to me before I leave the hospital? How am I supposed to be in the hospital? How do I report cases in the hospital? How do I take charge of my safety in the hospital? Now that we shall be looking at now the consumer rights and responsibilities in the health sector, We dive into the issues in the health sector that consumers have to watch out for, that the media has to watch out for, to make sure that we empower consumers of health products. So that is one scope that we shall deal with during the course of this conversation. Secondly, we shall look at consumer justice and protection in the education sector. When you are paying fees, what are those consumer issues in a school that you're supposed to be watchful of as you choose a school for your child or for yourself? You know, so if it is a library, how is the library supposed to be organized? If it is a lavatory or a washroom, how is it supposed to be in a school? You know, if it is lighting in classrooms, how should the light be? Because it's not every light that should be in a classroom. So we want to give you this information. How many people are supposed to sit in a classroom? How big should the classroom be in terms of the size? If it is a staff quarter, how is the staff quarter supposed to be constructed? How should the housing be? How should the drainage be in a school? So all of those concepts that relate to consumer justice and protection in education will be explored in this conversation. We shall also explore consumer justice and protection in the transport sector. How are the vehicles? How is the third-party insurance? How do consumers supposed to check which vehicle to load or not? What about the safety of the tires? What about now? Those are the issues that you're going to look at when you're talking about consumer justice and protection in the transport sector. It could be the air transport. We shall explore the road transport. We shall explore the water transport. We shall also explore as the pediatricians when you're on the road. What exactly are we supposed to watch when we're on the road? So don't miss this series. They are the series that will be coming in next after the launch. So we shall dive into these aspects. We also intend to explore the consumer justice and protection concerns in financial inclusion. For us in the banks, some of us in mobile money business, many of us who are getting loans and circles and cooperatives and whatever, online banking, etc. What are those consumer issues, consumer justice and protection concerns in the financial inclusion? We shall further look at the consumer justice and protection in agriculture, looking at inputs, the chemicals, the fertilizers, the seed, the seedlings, then the tools that we're using in agriculture, etc. The quality of extension. What do you expect of an extension worker when he comes to your home for agricultural service? Are you supposed to pay them or not? Under what circumstances do you use what? So all those, we shall dive into that at a later time. We shall also have conversations on consumer justice and protection in the communication sector, looking at our media houses, looking at telecom services, etc. We shall explore that deeply to look at the consumer issues, consumer justice, consumer protection in those aspects. We shall then explore consumer justice and protection in electricity or the energy sector. Many of you or many of us go and buy gas cylinders. But do you know how to read the expiry date on a gas cylinder? When do you know that the gas has expired? Do you know how to read that? Do you know how to interpret that actually my gas is expired? In the energy sector, we shall be exploring all that kind of stuff. When you're going to buy gas, how do you buy it? How do you transport it? How do you start using it? When you install electricity, what are the issues that you need to take care of before you install your house or your gadgets or whatever? So that is part of the electricity and energy sector. We shall look at consumer justice and protection in the water sector. How do we make sure that our meters are not reading excessively higher than they're supposed to read? How do we make sure that our water meters are updated? How do we make sure the pipes of our water are actually safe? For some of us who are using water tanks, which kind of tank are you using at home? What material is it made of? How often is it supposed to be cleaned? If I'm going to the washroom to use my shower, how am I supposed to use the shower? Because it also has principle. How am I supposed to know that now this water has too much chlorine or what? All those concepts in the water sector, we shall dive into that and explore it to the later. And then, of course, we shall look at consumer protection in tourism. Now that Uganda's, we're talking about ATM, agriculture, we're talking about industry, we're talking about tourism. So how do we make sure that people understand consumer justice and protection in the tourism sector? How do you book for wherever you're going? Which kind of vehicle, which kind of trip, which kind of, all those aspects will come in there. And then lastly, we shall look at the role of standards in consumer protection. And then we dive into that as well. So we think that together, we need to build an informed and empowered, but also protected consumer mass in every sector. Every sector, we need to make sure that there's consumer empowerment in each of these sectors. So for these sectors, of course, Consent will look for experts to take us through these sessions or series. Of course, we shall keep sharing with you on the dates when each of these will happen timely. Now, as we come to the end of my presentation, this project is hinged on the first law of geography. I know that many of you might not have maybe heard about it, but the first law of geography is that if you look at everything around you, you will actually note that everything is related to everything else. But near things are more related than distant things. And if you appreciate this, you will actually understand that the reason we are leveraging on the media league is while I am in Kampala, I know that there is a Wambale or a Kule in Kasese, and in Kasese, the Kasese issues are unique probably to Kasese. Now, if you go to Kampala, our Kampala issues are also unique in Kampala. Now, everything in Kampala might be closer to the consumer in Wakiso and the consumer in Kampala. Because we are too close, we might be facing the same challenges. And so that's why we leveraged on this law, that people who are closer to the consumers in a particular place. Now, in this case, we're talking about MCs who come from those communities where these issues are. The media personnel who are coming from those communities where you guys are staying, you have similar challenges. In fact, the challenges in your village affecting you as a media personnel who's consuming services may not differ from those that are affecting another consumer who's a farmer, but you're staying in the same community. So everything is related to everything else. But as long as these things are closer to each other, they have a similar way of viewing things. And that's why we wanted to provide this information to you so that you use it to look at your nearby place, where you come from, where you live, where your radio is, where your TV is, where you're operating. And now look at those issues of consumers within your context and then speak more about them, because the ideas that we are sharing here are the same. But then for you, contextualize them so that consumers who are within your jurisdiction benefit from you because you're sharing the same. You have the same pain. And mind you, the media league helps us now to communicate this English I'm talking, and you communicate it in Lusoga, in Luchiga, in Luganda, in Runyankore, in Rukonzo, in Ruwisi, in Acholi, in Lango, etc. So it is now easy for you to conceptualize this and contextualize it to your language. Use all avenues that you have to make sure that the consumers have this. And then we make sure that we have engagements and policy discourses that are actually relevant to the context in which you live. So this project's approach basically prioritizes engaging consumers through you guys, the media personnel, within your respective regions. We anticipate that you'll use your local languages, you'll use your local jargons to make sure that this information reaches to the people out there, but also ensuring that this information is relevant to your community, is trusted by your community members because you easily associate with them the fact that you come from those communities, but also ensuring that there is accessibility of this information. For us who are in Kampala, we may not reach your communities. Now, this project, we're going to engage 300 journalists and MCs. We're going to make sure that in our engagements, we have about 300 journalists and MCs reaching you on the webinars as we have we've been doing, but basically focusing on consumer justice, focusing on rights and responsibilities of consumers, focusing on consumer protection and consumer protection mechanisms, but also the UN guidelines on consumer protection for all the sectors that I've just mentioned about previously. So these consumer justice, rights, responsibilities, protection mechanisms in education, in agriculture, in health, in trade, in media, etc., will all be covered in this regard. We shall have 6 structured media lead webinars. So this is comprised of 6 series. You remember very well that the previous one on Safer Internet had 8 sessions. This one will have 6 of the sessions. Of course, they will be structured as we have always structured them. And of course, the media personnel and the MCs shall be the target participants, and whom we anticipate that we shall train, we shall give consumer education, we shall give you mentorship, we shall do co-creation with consumer justice and protection content. We shall be able to develop all that, and then you should be able to relate to the communities that you serve. We anticipate that out of the 300 people that will be involved in this conversation, you guys will reach 30 million Ugandans because you're across the country. So we anticipate that in 6 months, we have reached 30 million Ugandans with this information. That this information has reached down there. If your radio, for instance, you're reaching 100,000, you're contributing to the 30 million Ugandans that we are talking about. So you'll help us to reach the 30 million people with this information about consumer justice, their rights, their responsibilities, available protection mechanisms, mandated institutions. We even want you to be able to tell the people out there about which ministry, which agency, which department in the ministry X is responsible for these consumer issues that we are talking about. We shall also be able to tell them about the redress mechanisms, through your media engagements. They could be through the TV shows, they could be through the radio programs, they could be through the print media, online platforms, etc. So this is what we anticipate you to tell these community members about. Now, as part of what we expect of you, we shall be in the next 6 months, we want to see 1,500 verified media outputs. Here we're talking about the news items, the feature articles, the blogs, the opinion pieces, the broadcast mentions, the audio and visual clips, the online content. We want to see that we have generated at least 1,500 pieces of that. Now, it looks a little bit abstract, but what our anticipation was, if you are 300 people and you really joined this series, 6 of them, you've had enough content, you should be able to generate only 5, at least 5 pieces. It could be a news bulletin, it could be a blog, it could be an article, it could be an opinion piece, I don't know, whatever it is. But we anticipate that 300 of us should be able to generate really 1,500 pieces. If only each one of us can generate 5, then we shall be able to have these outputs. And on our side, we shall be able to make for you an electronic media kit, which means that all this information on this particular subject, we shall package it in one small leaflet, and then we give it to you as a media kit, so that whenever you are on radio, on television, or you're writing your news or whatever, you can make reference to it. So this will help us to measure the impact, but also try to drive consumer justice as we move forward. What do we see as success? When we have these 6 sessions, we want to think that you guys that we are reaching out to, first of all, you'll have enhanced technical knowledge and practical competencies in this subject matter, in consumer justice and consumer protection, so that you're able then to articulate these issues, contextualize them, and then deliver them to the local setting. Now, that is what we see as success. We think that the moment you understand these things, you'll have technical knowledge about them, you'll have practical competencies, and then you'll deliver them in the communities out there. But also we think that you guys, after receiving all this we are laboring to provide to you, you'll effectively engage duty bearers as well. Call these guys on your radio stations and they discuss these issues to consumers. Engage them. So we think that you will be able now to effectively engage duty bearers and the private sector on issues affecting the quality of consumer life, while also scaling up public awareness, amplify consumer voices, sustain evidence-based calls to action, What do we want the government to do? What do we want Ministry of Water? What do we want this to do? So in this, we think that when you have all this information, then it will help us to be able to reach this. So it's really about enhancing your knowledge, ensuring that you accurately articulate and contextualize these issues. We want you to engage effectively engage the people who are concerned. We want you to amplify voices of consumers because you're also consumers, but also being our fourth estate, we believe in you. We also think that you can scale up public awareness, and then we can continue with evidence-based action for impact. So once the media is informed, we believe that an informed media is an empowered consumers, then we can have stronger justice for better lives. And I think these are the last bits of my presentation I just wanted, since it's a launch, I wanted to give you these basics so that you know how we're going to run. We shall be measuring success of this, of course, just like we've been doing. Our team will be giving us the pre-session assessments every time you're going to have a conversation on a particular topic. You guys will have a pre-session assessment, and then later after we shall have a post-session assessment to just see if we've added some bit of value to you. And then later on, of course, we wish to see you submit to us, as you've always done, your products that you've developed. They could be audio, they could be televised content, they could be images, they could be whatever content you've created. This will help us to know how you're relaying information, can add you more support, etc. So we shall keep receiving that, the articles and all that. And then also we shall be documenting lessons learned, and also opportunities and the challenges. And then we shall have an headline, and we shall monitor online engagements. Say you've written on your TikTok, or maybe you've sent your document on your Twitter, or maybe on LinkedIn. As we do the same, as we also be on your socials, we will monitor the likes, would monitor the engagements, online engagements that are happening, etc. So that's how we shall measure what is happening in your areas as you're doing this work. So we need to measure how far we can move on. We shall be giving awards, of course, as you are aware, for every series. We shall award certificates to those who will attend the 6 sessions, but also the Best Media Personnel Award will come in for particularly this. Remember, for every series, we have specific awards. So for the awards on Safer Internet, Asha will alert you when those will come. But this is also another opportunity we have to award those media personnel that will have more documentation, that will have more stories, that will have more articulation of the matters relating to consumer justice. So please, you have a wider range for you to win yourself these awards. I know that you're already aware of how those awards look like. Sometimes these awards are accolades with some cash, some little cash that comes along with this. These are awarded to the best performers, but also they can be given to the best regions. So we encourage all of you to actively participate in this conversation. Let us keep learning. Let us keep getting content. Let us keep sharing this content with other people. We are so much willing to recognize the commitments of colleagues who join these sessions. We are continually encouraging excellency so that we have stronger media for strong consumer justice. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude, once the media and MCs are empowered, we believe that actually they can effectively articulate issues of consumer justice and protection. They can amplify consumer voices. They can stimulate call to action. And also, once you have empowered consumers, then consumers become a powerful catalyst for improving quality of life, safety of products, sustainability, and equity. So when they are consistently informed and empowered, we can achieve this together. Now, this Media League provides us a unique opportunity that actually provides an efficient platform for you guys to keep learning, but also to use it for awareness, for you to be able to pick information that is credible, to help you transfer this information to other people, while we also build your capacity, but also building an advocacy space. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us have an empowered media. Let us amplify voices for consumer protection. Let us have a stronger consumer justice and protection movement, but also let us have consumers who are informed for better lives and safety. Allow me now to end with this. I want to appreciate you, colleagues, for listening in, but also for being patient with me. Usually, when it comes to this inaugural, whatever, I take a little longer, but thank you for being patient and for listening in kindly to me. Thank you, and over to you, Henry.
Thank you very, very much, Bernard. What a marathon and what a presentation. So, colleagues, this is quite been a very, very good curtain riser. It takes you deep into what you face every day. And now you as a professional journalist, you are now knowing what you need to do and how to open up, empower others, and be in position to drive the agenda. So that said, ladies and gentlemen, we once again would like to thank Bernard very much for sharing. It's been quite in-depth, rich, and we would need to continuously thank him. So out of all these, a media kit is being finalized, and you'll be getting it, an electronic one, and you'll be in position to use it on a daily basis. It will have aspects to do with some questions, some prompting questions, and then getting to know how to go about different aspects. So expect the digital media kit or guide with regards to consumer justice and protection to come your way. We'll be opening up our lines shortly, but I would like all of you to appreciate that you can see how depth the issues to do with consumers are on a daily basis. They touch every aspect. I always tell people that even the air we breathe is food for our body. So once it is contaminated, we are getting contaminated too. We are getting sick. We're also going to come in with another campaign, Consumers for Clean Air, and we'll be bringing you on board. So that said, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to encourage you to utilize everything that we have shared here today. And many of you have been asking for the recording. You can watch the YouTube, but also the recordings will come your way through your coordinators. So, colleagues, we are also bringing on board some other groupings. We had the Toro region is growing, the Renzori, we would like to, the West Nile, the Northern Uganda, and today on the call, we are happy to welcome the Buganda region journalists. So we would like to grow the media reach so that we do not only have information from the narrow perspective, we have it from a broader perspective. So thank you very much. And at this point, I would welcome anybody who has a comment to raise your hand so that we can select you We have a few minutes remaining to close our launch. As I wait for hands, our next series, we will be looking at the financial sector. We anticipate to receive a colleague from the Financial Literacy Association of Uganda to speak to us on issues of consumer justice and protection, where you will be empowered and then empower others. We anticipate to bring in a regulator. You will appreciate all the financial aspects are regulated by Bank of Uganda. Those that are in microfinance are regulated by the Department of Microfinance. Then those that are in other areas, there is an association of microfinance institutions in Uganda. We will bring all those so that you rub shoulders with them and they input into your learning and you'll be able to go and teach others. So that said, our next engagement will be on the financial sector. We'll bring in the elements of consumer justice and protection. Thereafter, we will go into the communication sector, go into the energy sector, going into the health sector, going to the transport sector, so that we share with you all these and you relate. Go into the food sector, food safety sector, give you tips on food safety. How do we keep our food safe? So that you take the same. I have seen a number of comments from you where you are MCs at weddings, at cultural events. There is an event I went to, one nearly had an overflowing plate with food. So how do we get consumers to learn sustainable consumption? Like Bernard was saying, should you eat everything? Can't you just serve yourself something small that you can finish? So we'll need to do aspects of addressing food loss, food waste, and food rescue. Most of the people undermine food rescue, but it is something very, very key. Accessing food is consumer justice and consumer protection, but abusing it is consumer irresponsibility. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will use all this platform to share with you quite a lot. Very true. So each sector, like every sector from which we harvest consumer voices is going to be dealt with. We are in contact with the regulators, the duty bearers who are supposed to uphold and upscale consumer justice and protection. So we are going to have this as a platform for you all to meet, discuss, and also bring out many other issues. So the registration link has been put in the chat. Please pick it up, register. Would love to have you all and be in a position to engage with you. So, and a number of you have seen a number of your products and I'm really enjoying the different products. I've read a number of your articles and they are quite good. I have listened to the radio programs where you are generating a lot of information from the webinars that are the last 9 webinars we have had with regards to safer internet and data protection. So I would like to thank you very much for that. And if not even on even the one on the World Food Safety Day, where you are in position to listen to Professor Kaya, Dr. Matopu, and all of you have written articles. I would like to thank you very, very much. So as of today, we have had we have had 10 webinars. So all of these are going to be, by the end of the year, we look forward. When we finish up with these 6, we anticipate another 2 with the data protection. Then we will have some others with clean air, consumers for clean air. When we are engaging with you, we'll be engaging in all the 5 regions where we work, and we will be getting in touch with you, with your coordinators. We hope to have physical engagement with the communities and you. So all that said, ladies and gentlemen, I can now see 2 hands. Let me ask Mr. Siku Swipe to use 2 minutes, and then we'll go to David Kawes. Mr. Siku.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Chimela and our brother Bernard, for this really beautiful insight which has been given to us today. I don't have much. I'm just here to appreciate the continuous knowledge and information you have really imparted to us. And we believe that we are very rich as far as knowledge and information is concerned. And it's at this moment that I will request my colleagues that let us just not take this information for granted, but we go ahead also to empower the other people who are followers both on media and our blogs, and also to ensure that let it start from our small circles in our homes. You find that it may be empowering the community, but in your home when people are really suffering. So let's start from our home up to the masses we are looking forward to. Then also, second, I'll also go ahead to really I get to appreciate our consent as an organization for really giving this to us. We don't take it as for granted. The fact that you have really changed us. When I look at myself as per now, I'm even that more far better away from the time I was before, as far as food safety, consumer rights, and so on are concerned. That even now I'm even moving in schools, not on behalf of consent, but because of people getting me to hear the information. I always empower them on media and so on, and I'm getting kind of gigs because of the knowledge. So it's really very rich, and we are very appreciative for that. In fact, allow me end here, but I need to ensure the team that the awards are getting back to Eastern. Eastern, we're not sleeping. Like always has been said that wise men came from Eastern. Eastern, we are more than ready to take all the awards. Maybe unless Jesus will come in to challenge me, but he can't challenge me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Swai Butsiku. That is impressive. I know that the Eastern, you are very busy, but Doreen will also tell you and David that they are also very busy in Western. So let's do the competition as we sensitize others. That is rich, and it's quite inspiring. I would like to thank you. I like the regional competition. It is quite rich. Let's keep it up. I like the quality of the videos, the content, and the innovations that you're putting in to get all this information. Yes, Jesus will be in Gulu, Swipe will be in Bale, Katia will be in Kasese, and Doreen will be in Fort Portal. I know Marco will be in Adjumani to see how we link. It's going to be a kind of a caravan. So it will start in Western Uganda, meet the communities and engage with the local authorities, go into Mbale, go to Gulu, then go to Germany to work with the colleagues in West Nile, and then we come back to Central. So it is quite a big program that we are looking at, and let's grow it. We have to grow with you because we are going to see to it that we reach out to the consumers so that we improve the quality of life. So Dan, please take the floor. Dan, please. Dan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Henry Bernard, for the for the initiative that you have taken us through. For the first time, I wanted to appreciate this initiative because every what has been talked about is so touchy. So we people who stay in the areas where consumers are affected with counterfeit materials and the products that are brought on the market. I'm happy because this has been my first time to hear from you people, but kindly beg you continue working with us because we have learned a lot today, and we are looking forward to put in action what has been told us, because we have been moving around seeing issues, but maybe we have been not having this information that you have helped us to close on with the disseminating the information to the masses and to the end users of on the market. Probably what has touched me, it is the agricultural sector, mostly because where I stay in Mitiana, that is Uganda, in Mitiana district, many of our people are agriculturists, but we have heard them crying because of the counterfeit products. Somebody tells you that he bought pesticides, he sprayed, but after spraying, the ticks will just grow again, or they will fall down at the same time, comes back, regain energy. We are saying that maybe even this pesticide are energy givers, not killers. So we think we shall continue to work with you people. We thank you very much. That has been my take.
Thank you very much, Dan. It is a pleasure, and thank you for coming on board. We'll be engaging more, and we'll make sure the sharings, the recordings, even when you need earlier recordings, we are putting them in our archives. We can zip them up and share them with you. That's why we are the Consumer Center, want to be a center of excellency there. As journalists, you can come in, pick up accurate, correct, authentic, evidence-based information. So we will be doing that, and we become not a center for consumers only, but a center for the media. So Dan, you're most welcome. We'll be sharing all the information with you. And also, more to that, when the kit is out, it will have guidance, say, it will be even giving you contacts of the ministries, departments, and agencies the respective consumer issues. A number of ministries, departments, and agencies have got consumer affair desks or departments. So we'll be sharing all that to facilitate you to reach out to them. Where we are not, you are there. So that is, I would like to thank you very much. Anybody who has requesting for the floor? I've liked the commitment that you have made, and we look forward to that. Anybody needing the floor? Okay. It seems we do not have Professor Kaya. Thank you very much. Professor Kaya, you can unmute.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chimera and Mr. Bwambale. I also add to the voice of the previous speakers to thank you so much for really fighting for consumers. Many of us don't actually think that we are consumers in several ways. People think that when they talk about a consumer, straight away somebody thinks about somebody who eats food. But we forget that we are consumers in so many aspects. And I think one of the biggest categories of consumers that we have are the school children.
Yeah.
How shall we ensure that there's justice and protection to them? As we try to see that they consume food, they get the books, they have all these facilities. I don't know whether there is that special kind of category that will be catering for them in your struggle. Thank you very much, both of you, for this innovative project.
Thank you very much for the compliments, Professor Kaya. It's a great honor always to have you and also guiding us. You've brought in a very key category, the young consumers, and in particular the school going. Those are the foundation for tomorrow. And today, in some of the aspects, they are the ones taking decisions, because young consumers who are school going and even non-school going, they are victims of many aspects. Most of the food they access endangers them. Many more times the food, apart from the food, the scholastic materials endanger them. The means of transport endangers them. The environment in which they are studying endangers them. But like Professor you have raised, and where you play a role in standards development, and where you chair technical committee, schools are being guided on how to prepare and access quality food. But through such, I trust a lot can be done to improve the services and goods consumers access, in particular the young ones. Once they are affected while they are young, it's like a permanent or a chronic damage. Others are being affected with lifestyle diseases, where the food they access leads them to NCDs, the non-communicable disease, and so forth. So that said, I think I would like Bernard to come in and say something before we draw to the conclusion. Bernard, please.
Yes, Mr. Chimera. Is my voice okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, colleagues, for your compliments, for your comments. I've been reading the whole chat. It's a very lively conversation. Very importantly, someone says, I think we need more sessions. You don't need to worry about anything. We just need to pray to God that we have the energies to be able to push as much as possible. We shall avail the information as much as we possibly can. So just be on the alert, be on your groups, ensure that you don't miss any of the series. We are more than ready to submit to you as much as we can potentially give. So please encourage more colleagues to join in. You must have seen that we have increased the size of the participants. In the previous sessions, you remember that when we hit 100, the link would close. But now we have increased the space. We can be able to take on additional 200 members. So please don't hesitate to share with your colleagues who might want to join these conversations. And we shall be able to accommodate all of you. We shall also be able to give you the YouTube links so that beyond the meeting, you can be able to follow up on YouTube if at all you're writing a story, so that you don't forget anything. You have no options of forgetting. We can always give you the link to the YouTube video, and then you can be able to watch it. I saw that most of the comments were basically additions. One had requested us to provide some Luganda versions. Unfortunately for this webinar, we shall always provide it in English, with a mind that you can translate now in your local languages, because the entire country is on this call, so somehow we may not have the interpretation. And the translation version we have on the call is not necessarily for Luganda. It's for, we can be able to get French and Spanish, which many of us do not listen to. So we request that for now you allow us to give you the English version, and then you can be able to translate it. But we can always have a conversation outside the call. If at all you need a comment, we can always provide the comments for your writing or for your TV or for your radio write-up or whatever it is. Then one of the colleagues from Ministry of Health was suggesting that we need to provide the youth. We need to find a way of how we engage the youth in this conversation. Of course, most of the colleagues here, they are youth, but I really understand the subject matter of how do we bring the youthful consumers. We used to have a program we called Young Consumers. We can discuss internally and see how we start again, maybe the Young Consumers platform, and then they can also receive this kind of info. That way we can be able to solve so many things. And I think this also tags with what Professor Kaya was guiding. Otherwise, I see that the rest of the things are for us to learn from, and also comments. I want to think that every one of us has registered before we can leave the call. We don't want to let anyone out. Kindly make sure that you register such that our finance people can be able to send you your data as soon as possible. So please let us know if you've not been able to register, but I'm sure that each one of us should be able to have access to the registration link, and then you should be able to, okay. Oh, someone has not seen the link. Okay, I hope, let me just get the link there.
Thank you very much, Mana. So, colleagues, at this point in time, I would like to thank you and also share with you that we'll be linking up at the next 3 coordinators. You'll be informed when we have our next section. So that said, colleagues, we need now to close, and I would like to thank you all, the members of the Media Fourth Estate, Media Fraternity, colleagues and stakeholders, Professor Kaya Simon from Professor Kaya from Makerere University, Simon from Chambogo University, would like to thank you, and many others whom we have not seen, who are in ministries, departments, and agencies. We are very honored to have you, and we look forward to continuously rub shoulders with you in the next sessions. So at this point in time, I would like us to close and look forward to being with you in the next series. Thank you.